The sun was falling behind the mountains of a lonely planet. The land was dry, cracked, and silent, as if no life could survive here. A human traveler named Daniel walked slowly across the desert ground. His ship had broken down far from here, and he had been searching for water, food, or any kind of shelter. His boots pressed into the soft dust, leaving a long trail behind him. Every step made him feel more tired, but he pushed forward. The wind blew across the sand, carrying a strange, incrickety-strange whistling sound. Daniel stopped. He thought it was only the wind, but then he heard it again. It was not the wind. It was a voice. He turned quickly. His hand reached for the small laser gun on his belt. The sound was soft, like a whisper, and then it grew stronger. From the shadows of a broken stone wall, someone appeared. It was a woman, but not a human woman. Her skin was pale silver, shining faintly under the weak light. Her eyes were large and glowing with a soft blue color. She looked weak, as if she had been crying. Behind her stood 3 small children, hiding behind their mother's long dress. The woman raised her hands to show she had no weapon. Her voice broke with desperation as she spoke. "Human, please, do not fear. My children are well behaved. I can be a good wife to you. Do not leave us here alone." Daniel froze. His heart raced. He had traveled to many strange worlds, but never in his life had someone said something like this to him. He looked at the woman, then at the children. They stood silently, their big glowing eyes fixed on him, filled with fear and hope at the same time. "Why are you saying this?" Daniel asked slowly. His voice was rough from thirst. "Why are you calling me your husband? I don't even know you." The woman stepped closer, but carefully, as if afraid he might shoot her. "My husband is dead," she said, her voice trembling. "The creatures took him. They hunt at night. If I stay alone with my children, they will come back. They will. Take us, please. You are human. They will not dare come close if you are with us. Stay. Protect us. I will give you loyalty, and my children will obey you. We will be your family." Daniel's hand tightened on his gun. Something about her. Words felt strange. Too fast, too desperate. He studied her face. She was beautiful in a way that was not human, but her eyes carried heavy pain. The children behind her did not speak a single word. They only watched him, motionless, like statues. Daniel shook his head. "I'm only passing through. I cannot stay here. I need to fix my ship and leave this planet." At his words, the woman dropped to her knees in the dust. The children gasped softly. She pressed her hands together and begged, "Please, please, human. If you leave, we will die. The monsters will come. My children, they are good. They are quiet. They will not trouble you. Do not let them die. I will serve you. I will be a good wife. Just don't leave us alone." Daniel felt a knot in his chest. He was not a cruel man. He could see the fear in her eyes, the shaking in her hands. But something about this situation made no sense. Why would monsters be afraid of humans? Why did she think he could stop them? And why did her children never speak? He opened his mouth to ask more questions, but suddenly, the ground beneath his feet trembled. Dust rose into the air, shaking loose from the stone ruins. The children ran forward and clung to their mother's dress, their glowing eyes wide with terror. The woman looked around quickly, her face turning pale. She whispered only one word: "They are coming." Daniel raised his gun, his heart beating hard in his chest. From the distance, across the desert plain, he saw dark shapes moving. At first, there were only 2, then 3, then more. Huge shadows crawled closer, their bodies low to the ground. Their movements fast and unnatural. The sound grew louder, low rumble mixed with sharp cries that made his skin crawl. The woman pulled her children close, holding them tightly. "Human," she said, her voice breaking. "If you leave us now, we are dead." Daniel stared at the approaching shapes. The air was heavy with dust and fear. He had no choice. The shadows grew larger, and the ground shook again. The monsters were almost here. The night was heavy and dark. Strange cries echoed far across the desert as the monsters moved away. For now, the danger had passed. Daniel stood near the broken stone wall, his gun still in his hand, his breath sharp and quick. The alien widow looked at him with wide, fearful eyes, her children hiding behind her. "You see now?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "They hunt us every night. If you leave us, we will not survive." Daniel lowered his weapon slowly. The monsters were gone, but he could still feel the ground's vibration in his bones. He looked at the woman again. She was not only afraid, she was desperate. Something inside him told him there was more to her story than simple fear. Reluctantly, he nodded. "Fine. Take me to your home. We need to talk." Her glowing blue eyes filled with sudden relief. She bowed her head slightly, then led him through the ruins. The children followed in silence, their small feet making almost no sound on the sand. They reached a half-broken shelter made from stone and metal scraps. The roof was cracked, and the walls leaned as if one more storm might bring them down. Inside, there was almost nothing, just a fire pit, a few blankets, and broken tools. Daniel saw no sign of food or water. The widow gestured for him to sit near the fire pit. She lit a small flame with strange crystals that glowed red when rubbed together. The light spread across her face, showing her tired eyes and hollow cheeks. "My name is Alara," she said softly. "These are my children, Sira, Leo, and Marek. They have not spoken to a human before. Forgive their silence." The children sat close together, staring at Daniel without blinking. Their eyes shone brighter in the firelight. He felt uneasy. Under their gaze, "You told me your husband was killed," Daniel said carefully. "By the monsters." Ilara nodded, her lips trembling. "Yes, he tried to fight them, to protect us. But they were too many. They tore him apart before my eyes." Her voice broke, and tears fell down her silver cheeks. She covered her face with her hands. The children lowered their heads, but still they did not cry nor make a sound. Daniel noticed this, and his unease deepened. Children should cry when their mother cries. These ones did not. He leaned closer, speaking softly. "Why do the monsters come after you? There are other ruins. There must be other survivors." Ilara's shoulders stiffened. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she looked at him, her glowing eyes hard with pain. "They come for my children," she whispered. "Not for me, not for any other survivor. Only for them." Daniel frowned. "Why? What is so special about your children?" Alara shook her head. "I cannot tell you everything. Not yet. If you knew, you might leave. And if you leave, we are lost." Her words filled Daniel with anger and curiosity at the same time. Come only looking for water, not to become a protector of a strange family. Yet now he was sitting here, feeling trapped by her secret. The firelight flickered, and for a moment, he thought he saw something strange in the children's eyes. Glimmer, a spark like lightning, waiting to be released. He rubbed his temples. "Listen, Ilara, if I'm going to stay here even for one night, I need to know the truth. I need to know what I'm fighting." Her lips parted, but before she could answer, a faint sound came from the children's corner. Daniel froze. The children were whispering. It was a strange language, low and sharp, like the sound of stones grinding together. The whispers rose and fell in rhythm, almost like a song. The fire grew brighter as they spoke, and the air around them seemed to thrum with invisible power. Daniel's heart pounded. He rose to his feet, his hand flying to his gun. "What are they saying?" he demanded. Ilara quickly stood and placed herself between him and the children. Her face was full of fear, not of him, but of what he had seen. "No," she cried. "Do not fear them. They are only children. They do not mean harm." Daniel's voice hardened. That wasn't any child's whisper. "What are they?" Ilara's breath came fast. She looked around the broken shelter, then leaned closer, her voice almost a hiss. "They are not like others of my kind. My husband. He was chosen to guard them. The monsters know their bloodline. They know the power inside them. If the children are taken, that power will be twisted into darkness. That is why the monsters come." Daniel felt cold run through his body. Power, bloodline. He stared at the three silent figures in the corner. They were watching him again, their glowing eyes calm. Too calm for children who had just been accused of holding great power. Ilara gripped his arm tightly. "Now you understand why I begged you. Alone, I cannot hold them safe. But you are human. The monsters fear your kind. You can help me. You must." Before Daniel could answer, the ground rumbled again softer this time, but enough to remind him that the monsters were never far. He looked at Ilara, then at the children. His mind spun with questions. What power did they truly hold? And why? Would creatures fear a human more than this glowing family? The night grew colder. Shadows moved just beyond the broken wall, but did not come closer. The monsters were waiting. Watching, Daniel sat back down, his eyes never leaving the children. He had found shelter for the night. But he knew one thing for certain. This family carried a secret that could destroy him more save him. The night grew colder inside the broken shelter. The small fire flickered, but Daniel could not take his eyes away from the three children. They sat together in silence, but their glowing eyes seemed too deep, too calm, too knowing. He had seen children before on many worlds, but never like this. Ilara the widow sat near them with her hands folded. She looked tired, almost broken, but there was a strange strength hidden in her posture. She had told Daniel only part of the truth, that her husband was dead and that the monsters wanted her children. But Daniel knew there was more. Much more. He leaned against the cracked wall, his weapon on his lap. "Those whispers," he said at last, "what were they saying?" It didn't sound like any normal tongue. Ilara's head lowered. Her silver hair fell across her face. "They speak in the old language," she said softly. "It is the voice of power, the voice the monsters fear." Daniel frowned. Power. They're just children. As if in answer, the youngest child, Mari, raised his small hand. The fire responded instantly, burning brighter, stretching higher, without wood or fuel. Daniel sat upright, his muscles tense. The boy's eyes glowed brighter. Then, just as quickly, Marik lowered his hand, and the flame shrank back to normal. Daniel's mouth went dry. He stared at Ilara. What was that? Her voice cracked. "This is why they cannot be alone. Their bloodline carries light. My husband's family guarded it for generations. The monsters hunt it. They take the children. That light will turn into darkness, into something that could burn entire worlds." Daniel shook his head. "And you think I can stop them? I'm just one man with a broken ship." Lyra's eyes locked on his. "Not just one man, a human. Do you not know your own story?" Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" She lowered her voice, almost like a secret. "Long ago, the monsters tried to invade your world. They failed. Your kind carries something they cannot touch. That is why they fear you. Her words echoed in Daniel's mind. He had grown up on Earth, hearing legends of aliens, wars, and heroes. But he had never believed them. And yet, the way the monsters had stopped when they saw him earlier. The way Alara looked at him, now it felt true. The children suddenly stood. Without a word, they walked outside into the night. Daniel jumped to his feet, alarm rising. "Wait, it's dangerous out there," Tira only whispered. "Watch." Daniel followed them out. The desert was silent, the sky filled with strange stars. The three children stood in a circle, their small hands touched. Slowly, their glowing eyes turned brighter. A low hum filled the air. Daniel felt the hair on his arms rise. The sand around the children began to move, swirling in tiny circles. The air warmed, as if a hidden sun had appeared between them. And then he saw it. A light grew between their joined hands. Not fire, not electricity. Something purer, something alive. The light expanded, forming a sphere that floated above their heads. It pulsed like a beating heart. Daniel stepped back. His chest tightened. He had never seen power like this, not even in the strongest machines of Earth. The sphere shone brighter, and for a moment he thought he heard voices inside its many voices, whispering, singing, warning. Suddenly, the ground shook. A roar cut through the desert night. The monsters, the children stopped, their glow fading. The sphere of light broke into sparks that vanished in the air. The three of them ran back to their mother, clutching her hands. Ilara's face was pale. They felt it. She whispered, "The monsters know when the children use their gift. Now they will come." Daniel's blood ran cold. He checked his weapon, but he knew it would not be enough. Not against the shadows he had seen before. He turned to Ilara. "If their power only calls the monsters, why do you let them use it?" She looked at him, her eyes sharp and wet with tears. "Because if they do not learn to control it, the power will consume them. Better to call danger than to watch them burn from the inside." Her words struck him like a stone. He stared at the children silent, glowing, watching him with those two calm eyes. They were not normal. They were not weak. They were something else. The desert rumbled again. Dust rose in the distance. Shapes moved. Daniel's heart pounded. They're coming already. Ilara pulled her children close. They never stop. But now you see why I begged you. Alone, we die. With you, maybe we fight. Daniel raised his gun, but deep inside, he knew it would not be enough. His eyes flicked to the children again. If they truly held that kind of power, maybe the monsters feared them, not him. Maybe the human was only a shield, a mask. He swallowed hard. The monsters' cries cut through the air, louder now. Closer. The night would not end in peace. And Daniel realized one terrifying truth. The children's power was not only their hope, it was also their curse. The desert shook like a beating drum. Daniel felt the ground tremble beneath his boots. The cries of the monsters echoed across the night, deep and sharp, like metal scraping on stone. The sound crawled into his bones and made his hands tighten around his gun. Ilara clutched her children. Their glowing eyes darted toward the darkness, where the shadows moved. She whispered quickly, her voice sharp with fear. "They come faster now." They felt the children's light. "You must stand ready, human." Daniel's heart pounded. "My gun won't stop them." Her reply was cold and desperate. "Then you must stand anyway." The first shadow leaped out of the night. Daniel saw it clearly for the first time. Beast taller than two men. Its skin black and rough like burnt stone. Its mouth opened wide, full of jagged teeth that dripped with green liquid. Its eyes burned red in the dark. Daniel raised his gun and fired. The bolt of light struck the beast in the chest, but it only staggered back and roared louder. Its claws scraped the stone wall as it charged forward again. "Back!" Daniel shouted, firing again and again. Sparks burst across the beast's body, but it kept moving. Unstoppable, the children cried out not with fear, but with strange voices, chanting the old language. Their small hands lifted. The air rippled. The beast stopped mid-charge, its claws inches from Daniel. Its body trembled as if invisible chains held it. Daniel turned in shock. The children's eyes glowed like burning stars. The youngest, Marek, whispered faster, and the beast's body twisted with pain. Then, with a final cry, it stumbled back into the darkness and vanished. Daniel gasped. What? What did they do? Alara's voice shook. They pushed it away. But more will come, stronger ones. She was right. The ground cracked as 3 more shadows appeared. Their cries pierced the night, louder, hungrier. Daniel fired, but his weapon felt like a toy against such monsters. One leaped over the wall, its massive body landing hard, shaking the shelter. Daniel rolled aside just as claws smashed into the ground where he had stood. The beast swung again. Daniel fired at its face. The blast tore one red eye, and the monster shrieked in rage. But another shadow slipped behind him, moving fast. Before it could strike, Alara shouted in the old language. Her hands glowed faintly, and the air around her children thickened. The 3 of them rose slightly off the ground, their feet no longer. Touching the sand, Daniel stared in disbelief. The children floated, their hands joined. Light burst from their bodies, brighter than fire, brighter than his weapon. The beasts howled and stepped back. But instead of fleeing, they circled, growling. Waiting for the right moment, the glowing children turned their heads in perfect unison. Their voices rose together, a song of whispers, deep and sharp, shaking the air. The light around them expanded into a sphere, pushing against the monsters. The beasts hissed and clawed at the edge of the glowing shield. Sparks flew as darkness, and light clashed. Daniel stumbled closer to Alara. His voice was rough. If they have this power, why don't they destroy the monsters completely? Alara's face was pale. Because they are still children. Their power is strong, but their control is weak. If they push too far, the power will burn them alive. Her words chilled him. He looked again at the floating children. Their eyes were wide, glowing fiercely, but sweat dripped from their faces. Their small hands shook, yet they did not stop. The monsters pressed harder, smashing against the light shield. One forced its way halfway through, its claws reaching. Daniel shouted and fired his weapon point blank into its mouth. The blast exploded. Inside, and the beast fell back screaming, but the other 2 struck harder. The shield cracked like glass. The children cried out, their chant breaking. "Hold them," Alara begged, her voice breaking. "My children, hold them." Daniel knew they couldn't last. He ran forward, his gun firing again and again. A T shot. Into the monster's burning eyes, their open jaws, anything that looked weak. One beast fell, its body smoking, but the last one crashed through. Daniel barely had time to aim before it struck him. Its claws cut across his arm, tearing deep. Pain seared through him. It hit the ground, his weapon skidding away. The beast raised its claw for the killing strike. Then light exploded. The children screamed as one, their voices merging into a single cry. The sphere of light shattered outward like a storm. The monster was thrown back into the air. Its body burned with white fire before it crashed lifeless into the desert. Silence fell. Daniel lay on the ground, gasping, his arm bleeding. The fire. From the children faded, and they dropped back to the sand. Their bodies shook with exhaustion. Elara rushed to them, holding them tight. Her tears fell as she kissed their glowing heads. Then she looked at Daniel. "You see now?" she whispered. The desert night was quiet again, but the silence felt heavy. Smoke rose from the burned monster's body. It smelled bitter in the air. Daniel sat against the cracked wall, his arm bleeding, his breath sharp. Elara tied a strip of cloth around his wound, her silver hands shaking. Her children sat close together, their glowing eyes dimmer now. They looked tired, their small bodies trembling after using so much power. Yet, none of them cried. They only watched Daniel with the same strange, unblinking calm. Daniel's voice was low, rough with pain. "I saved them, and they saved me. But this cannot go on. If you want me to stay, Elara, you need to tell me everything. No more half-truths. Why do the monsters want your children?" Elara froze. Her eyes filled with fear, but not the same fear she showed to the monsters. This was deeper, heavier. She looked at her children, then back at Daniel. "You will not believe me," she whispered. "Try me," Daniel said, his jaw tight. "I've already seen enough tonight to believe almost anything." Elara sat across from him, her face pale in the firelight. Her voice was soft, but each word carried weight. "Long ago, before even your kind walked among the stars, my people made a mistake. They created light out of darkness, a power born from the old universe from before time. That light was meant to heal worlds, to end hunger, to bring peace." She paused, her hands trembling. "But we were fools. The power did not belong to us. It belonged to something older. Something that waits in the dark." Daniel leaned forward, his good hand gripping his knee. "The monsters." Elara shook her head slowly. "The monsters are only hunters. They are servants of the true darkness. They seek the bloodline that carries the power. My husband was born to protect it. And when he died, that duty passed to me. And now, to you." Daniel's chest tightened. "What do you mean, to me?" She looked into his eyes, glowing blue to his human brown. "Because the power does not only run in their blood, it awakens stronger when joined with yours. With human blood." Daniel stared at her, his heart pounding. "What are you saying?" Elara's voice cracked. "The darkness cannot touch humans. Your kind carries a shield, something in your nature that even we do not understand. That is why I begged you. Alone, I can hide my children for only so long. But if you stand with us, if you become part of us, the children will grow strong enough to fight back." Daniel shook his head, disbelief rising. "So that's what this is? You don't just want protection. You want me to be their father." Elara lowered her eyes. "Yes, my plea was not only for safety, it was for survival. My people are gone. My husband is gone. But if you join us, if you stay, the children's power will not be lost. Together, we may have a chance." The words sank into Daniel like stone. He thought of his broken ship, his lost chance of escape. He thought of Earth, far away, a world that might never know what happened here. And he thought of these children, silent, glowing, powerful, yet fragile. He wanted to walk away. He wanted to tell her it was not his problem. But deep inside, he knew he could not. The monsters had marked him already. His blood was on their claws. Whether he liked it or not, he was now part of this fight. Still, doubt burned in his mind. "You're asking me to risk everything, to trust a story I don't fully understand. How do I even know you're telling me the truth?" At his words, Elara's face changed. Pain crossed her eyes, but she stood and walked to her children. She touched the eldest, Sira, on the head. "Show him," she whispered. Sira's small hand reached out toward Daniel. Light touched his forehead, and then he saw it. Visions filled his mind, flashes of ancient wars, burning skies, creatures of shadow pouring across worlds. He saw warriors like Elara's husband standing against them, falling one by one. He saw children glowing like suns, their voices shaking the heavens. And finally, he saw humans his own kind standing between light and dark, untouched by the shadow. The vision ended. Daniel gasped, his heart racing, sweat dripping down his face. Sira lowered her hand. Her glowing eyes stared into his. For the first time, Daniel heard her voice. "Father." The word was soft, broken, but clear. Daniel's blood froze. The children had been silent until now. Hearing that single word tore through him. Elara's eyes shone with tears. "Now you know the truth. They are not only mine, they are yours too. If you choose." Daniel stood, his body shaking. His mind was a storm. Could he truly accept this? Could he protect them? Become part of something so ancient and dangerous? Before he could speak, the ground trembled again. A roar shook the night, louder than before. Closer. The fire flickered. The shadows outside the ruins moved like waves. Elara clutched her children, her voice urgent. "They come again. They will never stop until the bloodline is destroyed or saved." Daniel lifted his gun with his uninjured arm. His jaw hardened. He didn't know what choice he would make yet, but he knew one thing. The monsters weren't going to take these children tonight. The fire burned low. The ruins smelled of dust and blood. Daniel sat in silence, his arms still aching from the monster's claws. Elara watched him closely, her children pressed against her sides. The night outside was quiet for now, but everyone knew the quiet would not last. Daniel's thoughts twisted like storm clouds. He had seen the children's power. It felt the vision they showed him. And still, one question burned in his chest: was he truly ready to stay? Elara broke the silence first. Her voice was soft but sharp, like a blade wrapped in cloth. "You saw the truth, human. You know why they need you." Daniel's jaw tightened. "He didn't ask if I wanted this. You begged me, pulled me into your war, into your secret. And now you expect me to decide as if I had a choice." Elara's glowing eyes filled with tears, but she did not look away. There is no life without choice. You could walk away, but if you do, they will die. The three children stared at him. Their eyes were wide, glowing faintly in the dying firelight. They did not speak again, but their silence was louder than words. Daniel felt his chest grow heavy. He had been a soldier once, on Earth. He had fought wars that were not his, carried orders that broke men. He thought he had left that life behind when he took to the stars. But now, here he was again, staring at another battlefield with three children depending on him. He stood, pacing. The desert wind blew through the cracks of the broken wall, carrying a low hum that reminded him of the monster's cries. "I don't know if I can protect them," Daniel admitted. His voice was low, almost broken. "I don't know if I can protect myself." Elara rose too. She stepped closer, her silver skin shining faintly in the firelight. "You are already marked," she said. "When they cut you, their darkness touched your blood. If you leave now, they will hunt you across the stars. You are part of this whether you wish it or not." Daniel froze. Her words cut deeper than the monster's claws. He had hoped he could leave, find his ship, escape. But now he realized she was right. The monsters would follow him anywhere. He was bound to this fight. Elara's voice softened. "But if you stay, you will not be alone. You will have us. You will have me." The firelight flickered in her eyes. For a moment, Daniel saw not only desperation, but something else: hope. A hope so fragile it could break with a breath. The children suddenly moved. The eldest, Sarah, stood and walked slowly to Daniel. Her steps were quiet, her glowing eyes steady. She reached out her small hand and touched his injured arm. A warmth spread through him. The pain faded, not gone, but lighter. His breath caught as he looked down at her. For the second time, she spoke. "Father," she whispered. The word pierced him deeper than any wound. His throat tightened. He had never been called that before. He had no family on earth, no wife, no children. He had only wandered from world to world, a soldier without a home. And now?
Anus.
In this broken ruin on a dying planet, a child not of his blood had given him that name. Daniel knelt slowly, looking into Syrah's glowing eyes. "If I stay, if I fight for you, it means I become part of this forever." Ilara's voice trembled behind him. Yes, forever. He closed his eyes. The weight of the choice pressed on his chest like stone. If he said no, the children would die. If he said yes, he would never return to the life he knew. Finally, he opened his eyes. "Then I choose to stay," Ilara gasped. The children's eyes lit brighter, as if flames danced inside them. For the first time, Daniel saw their faces soften into something close to joy. Ilara placed her hand on his shoulder. Her voice shook. "You will not regret this. Together, we will make a new family. And together, we will fight the darkness." But even as she spoke, the ground trembled again. The sound came not from far away this time, but from all directions. A chorus of roars filled the night, louder, heavier, endless. Daniel's eyes narrowed. He picked up his gun. "They know I've chosen." Ilara pulled her children close. Her voice was sharp with dread. "No, this is more than the hunters. This is something greater." From the darkness beyond the ruins, hundreds of glowing red eyes appeared. The shadows stretched high, taller than before, wider than before. The monsters had not come alone. A larger shape rose in the distance, a mountain of shadow moving slowly toward them. Its roar shook the very ground. Daniel's heart pounded. He had made his choice. Now he would face its cost. The ground shook like thunder. Dust rained from the broken walls as the night roared alive. Daniel tightened his grip on the gun, his arm still aching, but his heart steady. He had made his choice. He would not leave. Ilara pulled her children close, their glowing eyes wide with fear. Yet in that fear, Daniel saw something else: trust. They believed in him now. That belief pressed harder on his chest than any wound. The red eyes of the monsters circled the ruins. Their claws scraped the sand. Their growls echoed in every direction. But it was the giant shadow rising behind them that froze Daniel's blood. It was larger than any creature he had seen before. Its body towered like a mountain, its chest burning with red fire, its mouth dripping with black smoke. When it roared, the stars above seemed to tremble. Ilara's voice broke in fear. "The Alpha." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Then this ends tonight." The smaller beasts struck first, rushing forward with screeching cries. Daniel fired again and again, his shots tearing into their bodies, slowing them but never stopping them. The children stood together, their voices rising in the old language. A shield of light burst around them, pushing back the first wave. The Alpha roared and slammed its claw into the sand. The ground cracked open, the shield flickered, and the children cried out from the strain. Daniel's chest burned. He knew their power would not hold forever. He ran forward, firing straight into the Alpha's burning chest. The blasts struck deep, but the monster only staggered, its roar shaking the ruins apart. The Alpha's claw swung, smashing stone walls into dust. Daniel was thrown to the ground, his gun sliding across the sand. A pain seared through his ribs. But he forced himself up. He had survived worse before Daniel, Lara cried. She raised her hands, her silver skin glowing faintly. She began to chant with her children, her voice joining theirs. Together, their light grew brighter, stretching higher. Forming a dome around them, the Alpha pushed against it, its claws scraping. Sparks flying, the air screamed with a clash of light and dark. Daniel stumbled toward his gun, but something inside him shifted. He felt the warmth from Syrah's touch earlier, the strange connection that had healed his arm. He remembered the vision, the humans standing between light and dark. Untouchable to the first time, he wondered. Maybe it wasn't just the children with power. Maybe the shield Elara spoke of lived in him too. He stood tall, his chest rising. With fire, enough, he growled. He stepped between the monsters and the family. The Alpha raised its massive claw and struck down with all its strength. Daniel raised his hand, not with a gun, not with armor, but with nothing. And the claw stopped. The air burned white. The Alpha shrieked in rage as invisible force held it back. Daniel's body glowed faintly, not like the children, but different, like a mirror reflecting their light. Elara gasped. He awakens. The children's chant grew stronger, feeding the light. Daniel felt it flow into him, through him, out of him. His body shook, but he did not fall. The Alpha screamed again, trying to crush him, but the light grew brighter. With a roar of his own, Daniel pushed forward. The energy burst from his hand. A wave of fire and light that tore through the monster's chest. The Alpha staggered, its body burning from the inside, shrieked one last time before collapsing, its massive form crashing into the desert. The red fire in its chest flickered and died. Silence fell. The smaller beasts froze. Without their leader, their eyes dimmed, their cries faded. One by one, they scattered into the shadows. Vanishing into the night, Daniel dropped to his knees, his body trembling, his breath heavy. The glow faded from his skin. He felt weak, but alive. Elara rushed to him, her children beside her. She touched his face, tears shining in her glowing eyes. "You are more than I hoped. You are our shield. You are our strength." The children wrapped their arms around him. For the first time, Daniel did not resist. He let them hold him, their warmth filling the emptiness he had carried for years. But as the night grew quiet, Daniel lifted his eyes to the horizon. Beyond the desert, in the far mountains, a darker shadow stirred. Larger, heavier, more terrible. Then the Alpha, the fight was not over. Elara followed his gaze. Her face went pale. The Alpha was not the end. It was only the beginning. Daniel stood slowly, the children clinging to his sides. His voice was low, steady, and full of fire. "Then, let them come. This family isn't running anymore."